Good morning, everyone. We are very lucky to have John Krumheuer, Krumheuer,
Krumheuer, it's good enough.
Krumheuer
Yep.
with us today. He is the owner of MSP Kitchenery, and he is going to impart his wisdom.
Oh, that'll be short.
Thanks for being with us, John.
Thank you. Do you want me to take it over now, Shelley?
Go for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I am delighted to be here. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to be focusing on is really driving more revenue for your business. And I'll be getting into some more details on that. Just briefly, this is our agenda. We're going to go briefly a little background on us. Then we're going to talk about a few things, fundamental things that I think are paramount to being able to scale business and grow revenue. And then we're going to talk about elevating and accelerating that business and then scaling in next steps. A little background on this, how this opportunity actually occurred is I was lucky enough to be on a call where they were talking about kitchen spaces in the state of Minnesota, leveraging different kitchens and opportunities from everything from church basements to commercial rental kitchens. And Shelley reached out to me. She also was on that call. And I was just blown away and excited that this organization existed. I did my research. I got back with Shelley right away as soon as I got her message. And that is how this opportunity occurred. I'm really strong believers in entrepreneurship. I started my first business in southwestern Minnesota, where I grew up, a little town called Darfur Comfrey, when I was 14. I bought antiques and then I sold them at flea markets in the big city of Mankato. Every month there was a flea market and I would sell to antique dealers there. So love entrepreneurship, love helping people. And love seeing people succeed. I commend everyone that I worked with here, Shelley, Jennifer, Tom, just a fantastic team with the folks that I've worked with. And I also commend everyone that is joining this call. You're growing yourself. We always can continue to learn. And this is a great way to continue our growth and a great association to be associated with. Little background on myself, been in technology companies my whole career, started answering the phones at a company in Chaska and grew with that and been on basically the sales side the majority of my career. My wife is Nicolette. She was a corporate financial analyst. And she started a company called Nicolette's Macarons. And we're going to talk more about this. Back in 2011 is when the idea really started. And there was a lot of work that went into this, as you all know, researching, formulating it, etc. One of the big key things that helped us was in 2016, we went to the International Baking Industry Exposition, which happens every 3 years in Las Vegas. It's the biggest one in the United States, and they only do it every 3 years. And we took a class, an all-day class, both me and her, on business of baking for beginners. And that we learned so much stuff from so many people that have lived it before. As time would evolve, we acquired a catering kitchen, and then my wife ended up putting her full-time job and just focused on the business. We were just going to do web-based products is what our focus was going to be. And so we put this, our building happens to be right on 169, and we put up this sign and people then started coming. And so we quickly shifted and turned an office into a little storefront in Plymouth, and we continued to grow. We're actively looking right now for a third kitchen. I actually looked at 2 others yesterday and continue to optimize our website and whatnot. One of my favorite quotes from Zig Ziglar is, "Don't be a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific." And with that, I want to be very specific. I want to provide at least one thing or idea that can drive more revenue for your business. That's my goal today. I hope I can accomplish it for you. And we'll get started. Here in business now what? So what I find a lot of folks, any size company, either startups or companies that have been around for a long time, is they all know what they do. Then there's a certain group of folks that kind of know how they do it. But what is missing in a lot of things that businesses I've come across is what their why is. Why are they doing it? Why are you in business? Why are you doing this? What's your why? And leaning into that is going to really be something that can unlock understanding what your why is and driving that extremely hard, and then conveying that to your potential customers and prospects and people that you're talking to on a day in and day out basis. Really leveraging that is what I've seen help folks really drive their businesses, understanding what their why is, but not just understanding it themselves, conveying that in their marketing messages. And that might be, hey, you want to, grow your business to the next, like Angie's kettle corn. That might be you are looking to, put one of your kids through school with this business. This might be, hey, this is a full-time thing, and I want to get away from my corporate responsibilities and job. But getting that why and then really actioning on that. The other thing is I believe everyone has, for lack of a better term, a secret power, something that they're phenomenally gifted at. That might be you're a phenomenal chef, a phenomenal maker, baker, what have you. You might be really great at, doing SEO with websites. Whatever that secret power is, really harness that and drive that into your business. And then understanding, what is the goal? If you don't know where you're aiming, you don't know if you're going to get there. You don't know if you're accomplishing it. And it's a rocky, rough road, as we all know in business. It's not always up and to the right by any means, but really understanding what your why is and dovetailing that with what your goal of your business is can really help drive the growth. One question I have for you is, what do you know you need to do next, but you haven't done? And we always have those things in our lives, things that we kind of kick that can down the road. Well, I'll get to it. Well, I really should do it, but I haven't done it. Well, maybe next year. I'll do it maybe in June is when I'm going to do it. But I really challenge everyone on this call, and I challenge myself on this as well, is, what do you need to do? And why are you putting it off? So my challenge to you is go after it. Do what you need to do, even if it might be painful, but go after that. Another thing is we always are evolving. I still haven't figured out anything yet. I'm evolving and learning every single day. And there's a really good book. A gentleman, he's one of the best business mentors in the world, actually. His name is Marshall Goldsmith. And he had a New York best time seller. What got you to here won't get you to there. And it's really good because it explains, hey, you've gotten to this point, whatever point that is. How do you evolve to that next point? What do you do to drive and change that behavior to go to that next level? And it's a very good book that can help coalesce and make you take some introspection to help drive yourself to the next level of your business. The table stakes for 2023, in my opinion, is, create a professional logo. If you don't have one, I really recommend it. It helps you get noticed. It's going to be the life of your business. You can get these done fairly reasonable. There's a website called 99 Designs. And that's what we utilize to get our logo done on both Nicolette's Macarons and also on the MSP Kitchenery logo. They have folks from all around the world that come to you with ideas. You iterate it. You can actually send it out to your friends and family and people that will give you feedback on what they like. And it's a real sequential way of getting a really nice logo done fast and very professional, in my opinion. Have a website. There's so many templates out there. You got to get your story out to the masses. And if you don't have a website, you're definitely at a competitive disadvantage for growing your business. And of course, the table stakes to getting on social media. We hear this all the time. We're on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't understand TikTok, but that's one of those things going back to the beginning of what do I need to do next in the business? And I need to understand TikTok. And I need to lean into it because that's what a lot of the kids are doing. And there's potential revenue opportunity that we're missing because of it. So that's on my list for this year to get onto TikTok, and I'll have that completed here by the end of the first quarter. One thing that amazes me, and just actually is quite baffling for me, is people that don't respond back to their emails and voicemails. I know we're all busy and we're all doing stuff, but you never know when that opportunity could lead to a gigantic revenue experience for you just by being, answering your emails and getting back your voicemails. Me and Nicolette talk about it all the time. People are amazed that we get back to them right away. That they're not used to it. And I think that's a competitive advantage for your businesses as well. And then really understanding who your target market is. Who are you trying to sell your products to? That resonate with. And the more you can zero in on that, the more trajectory you can get. And that's really by being more meaningful and specific. And I'll be getting into that a little bit more detail. On that, one thing that we try to do every year is we look at ourselves and we say, okay, for the business, what are our strengths? Where do we see the biggest weaknesses? Where do we see the biggest opportunities? And where do we see the biggest threats? So it's called a SWOT analysis. I'm speculating a lot of you have heard of that before, but really digging into where you're at that moment in time. And that changes continually. It doesn't, where you're at 5 years ago, where you're at 2 years ago, there's different things happening in the market. And I really recommend that as well. And then one thing that I see a lot of folks in all different types of businesses is not truly understanding what their costs are. Ingredients have whipsawed us pretty aggressively. We went down to IBIE again this year, that International Baking Industry Exposition. And when we came back, we raised our prices a little over 11%. Because what we heard from other groups in baking, and that's what Nicolette's Macarons is that you have to pass that along. Otherwise, you're not going to be solvent. You're not going to be able to provide. And really understanding that change in your ingredient costs, it's paramount. Knowing what your packaging is, knowing what your marketing is. And the one thing that I see a lot of folks not factoring in as much in a lot of businesses is what their time, that's the one precious thing that we never can get more of, can't buy more of it, is time. And truly understanding how much time you're putting into the business and getting paid for that. There's no doubt that everyone that's on this call, in my opinion, probably has a premium product, puts their heart and soul into the business. Well, it's time to get paid for it. And don't undersell yourself whatsoever. The other thing is the 3 Ps, and the product, what the people in the business and what processes you have. Typically what I find in smaller entrepreneurial ventures is they have a great product. They're the person, they're the people in the business driving it. So there's no problem there. They lack processes to be able to help scale. Now, I was fortunate enough to be at a trucking company, and that's the business called telematics that I've been in my whole life out in Los Angeles. And I was visiting with a turnaround guy that was turning around a trucking company. And I was pretty impressed by his approach. So I asked him, what book would you recommend? And he actually turned me on to this book. It's called The E-Myth. And I recommend E-Myth Revisited, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. And they really break down different things that I think could be beneficial for your businesses as you continue to scale as well. Now we're moving on to elevating your business. Is what I found, and I do a lot of markets. I met Tom at the Union Depot market. It was awesome to see him. I didn't know it was Tom before I walked over and just said hello. I just saw his marketing and his approach, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And the product looked fantastic. But the one thing that I've learned about it is packaging. that often will determine if you get the deal or not, if you get the sale, and especially around the holiday market time, it can be massive. We use online labels, and clear boxes are two places we use. We also use Uline as well. Another thing that I recommend is getting free photos from local photographers and collaborating with different folks. So you can quite easily get photos from folks that are trying to build their business and partnering with them as well. Another thing is I believe little things matter. And it's those little attention to details that, can also separate if someone's going to buy from you or not. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on that as well. And then get out there and sing your song. If you're not out beating the street and letting people know, that you're out there, go to pop-ups, wineries, But one thing that I would challenge you with is look at creating a plan for the year. And so I've got a little Excel spreadsheet where we look at all the different markets. We go online, go to look at different farmers markets, and then we put together a plan for the year on what we're going to be trying to go after and what markets to go after. Different sales approaches matter. I like to walk farmers markets, like to go to different markets, and I like to see how people engage. And there's a lot of folks that don't engage at all. What I find is, I'd really recommend engaging with folks and always remembering WIFM. And so WIFM is when you're looking at a potential customer is what's in it for me. And what you're able to do then is you're able to say, okay, why should I buy your cookie? What is it that's unique? And that can be a whole host of things. That can be, it's my great grandmother's recipe that we brought over from Europe. That could be, this is a gluten-free product. That could be a whole host of things. But really having that real fast elevator pitch where you can speak to it, within, 15 seconds to get their attention and drive for that. There's a methodology and it's called challenger selling. And what that is it's a book, and I'll spare you a whole bunch of details, but basically it's a set process on selling and an approach where people want to be taught something. It's called, you teach them, then you tailor it to them, and then you take control of the sale process. It's very refined in its approach. It is what a lot of businesses use on their go-to-market motion, go-to-market selling. So there is some advantage, I think, in that book, in that concept of, hey, teach me something that I didn't know, tailor it for what's in it for me, and then you take control of the sale and they buy. The other one that I really highly recommend if you haven't read it is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's been around for a long, long period of time, but I believe just reading that one book alone should be, and following it, I think would easily grow sales multiple percentage points for you. So those are two books that I really highly recommend that you look at as well.
John, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second. Do you have an external camera by chance?
I don't.
Okay, we might be having some technical difficulties. So
Okay.
If I just want to interject, because you're kind of blinking in and out of the top part of your head a little
Okay.
bit. Your screen's great. It might just be Zoom.
Okay.
So if everybody gets kicked out, just everybody sign right back in if anything happens.
Cool. Thank you, Jennifer. So, here's just an idea of kind of what our packaging is for Nicolet's macarons. We find that, and there's been a whole bunch of studies done on people want to see the product, and that's why we have clear packaging. It resonates more with them. After COVID, there's been also studies done that people like prepackaged product like this, that they can see, grab and go. Also, purchasing from an impulse standpoint, people like the look. And so these are, just different examples that we've leveraged. On the far left, we teach people that a macaron, unbeknownst to a lot of folks, freezes extremely well. Every one of our macarons we freeze. So we go right into the production of making the macaron, and then we drop it into a freezer. Well, where we teach folks on that teach, tailor, and take control is, hey, are you looking at doing a holiday gift? Yes. Hey, you don't have to worry about this. I know it's in 3 weeks, but you can remove this out of your freezer, and it tastes like it just came out of the oven, basically. And so that packaging has really helped our gifting business in particular. It also opened up opportunities to get into corporate gifts and be able to have these types of things mailed direct to everything from their employees to prospects to customers. On the right, you'll see that is a bag. We use that bag on our food truck as well as at events. People want to try it. They all comment that they like seeing the product. And then on the far right is just an insert as well, showing the packaging so that people don't have to worry about it, transporting it and whatnot. This gives you a little example on consistency and branding. And, this is how we have it set up. As you can see over on the upper left side, we have a Nicolette's Macarons logo, we have that everywhere. We have our colors. We have, hey, we do weddings, we do events. We mimic that over to the right on the bigger sign, the bigger pull-up sign. And all these things can be done very cost effectively through Vistaprint. That's who we leverage. And if you look for coupons, that we don't buy anything until we find a coupon. And then we go hog wild. But, if you look for coupons, you can really elevate your brand at a very low cost point. We also on the right side have these balloons. And I thought these little balloons were foolish, but my wife proved me wrong once again. She sets these balloons out in front of our shop when they're open. And I didn't think she was so foolish when people told me at markets that I was selling at that, hey, we drive by and we see the balloons and we know you're open. And so they know to, pull over and come by and visit. You can see, everything is clear, very easy to see. On the far right side, you can see on the table a takeaway item. And that little takeaway item shows our flavors. We get a lot of folks that come by, they look at our products, and I'm sure you guys have seen this as well. Wow, that's so pretty. Oh, that's so nice. And they don't buy anything from you. But I'm sure that never happens. But the nice thing is we try to get them to take something. Again, on Instaprint, we wait until there's a real special deal, and we buy a bunch of these cards, and we get business based on it, because they take it home. They don't, they come by a couple more times, maybe not buy anything, and then eventually they end up purchasing something, or they order online. So that kind of gives you a little layout on our approach. I'm not saying this is the best approach by any means, but it just shows you an approach that we leverage, reflecting everything that we've discussed. We also, on the lower left, lean into our product superpower, if you will, and that it's a gluten-free product. And you can see it also says right there, it freezes beautifully and makes a perfect gift on that lower left chalkboard. So we're hitting these three, main things. So we are in consistency in what we're saying when we engage with that prospect, but also we have that in writing so they can see it as well. And that builds credibility and helps drive increased revenue opportunities for you, because people want to see that credibility. We also have the pricing up front in little table cards in front of all the different products. And then we also have pricing on those little plastic boards in the far right and the left by the crate. And we engage and tell people what the pricing are and what they're getting as well, but that way they can visually see it very easily as well. Keep it as simple and as painless as possible for that transaction to occur. For a couple bucks, we went to the dollar store and put those little lights up that are around the little kind of balls with the lights for holiday. And just doing those little things can separate you from the rest of the pack that are out there to help drive more revenue. I'm a real strong believer in networking with everybody. There's enough business for everyone out there. And there's a good chance that you might collaborate with that person down the road. What I found is it's a great food community here in Minnesota. A lot of people are willing to share what the best markets are, what ones are coming. I really would leverage this organization. There's also Department of Agricultural Resources. There's a group in town called the Women Who Really Cook. That's for women only, but my wife loves that group. They are very strong on supporting women-owned businesses, and each member hosts at their facility a meeting, and that's there every month. And then the other thing is I would network outside of the food industry as well. And leverage, in town we have like the Northeast Minneapolis networking group, and there's a bunch of other ones. I'll lean into social media, obviously, get Google reviews from everybody that you can think of. Yelp, Facebook, Wedding Wire, if you're in the wedding business, the Knot. I'd ask every customer that you have to help write your review, and ask everyone that you sell to write a review. A lot of them won't, they'll forget, but those reviews can really help drive traction to your business as well. And again, like we said earlier, I try to keep your branding consistent, across the board. It builds credibility and that trust, which is so imperative to growing the business. Here's just some examples of that continuity of our colors. So we've done the exact same color choices with our truck as well. Just keeping that same color in the middle. You can see that's the Nicolette's Macaron sign that we put up that actually drove a retail location. And we weren't even thinking about it, which is kind of embarrassing, but and then we keep the same colors throughout. Scaling and next steps. So these are things that I hear a lot of the time. I've got too much demand and I can't keep up. I want to ship online. I want to go into specialty markets. I want to get time back for myself. I want to separate myself from my house and the business, where I'm looking to, sell direct. These are all quotes from folks that I've come across in our MSP kitchenery business, and what I hear common. These are the most common things that I hear from people. And so really it kind of goes down to a whole bunch of different options as you're looking at different kitchen spaces. One of those that I'm a big proponent of is checking with local churches for church basement kitchens. There's a lot of opportunity there. And I believe that you sometimes can get some phenomenal price points. I've seen a number of folks leverage church basements. The other nice thing is no matter what part of the state you're in, you can find a church pretty close to you, and there could be opportunity there. The negatives that I found is they don't have, typically, not all of them, but the majority of them don't have the equipment, the larger equipment, and access can be kind of tough. Another one is, and I see this occurring more and more, especially with restaurants hurting in certain pockets. and catering kitchens, saying, hey, we'll open up our space for you. Can be good price. You can have good equipment. But what we find is the scaling is sometimes tough, the availability. And then what I've found recently, there was one that just closed about 45 days ago, that when they're typically looking for tenants, not all in all cases, but in some cases, there might be up against the wall from a financial perspective. There's one in Northeast Minneapolis that actually just closed, and they didn't give any notice to their tenants. Another one is schools. The proximity can be good. The cleanliness is usually pretty darn good. Availability and access can be very tough, Val. And then there's rental kitchens like what we have at MSP Kitchenery. Typically good equipment, typically good access. The negatives, though, are sometimes cleanliness, because you have a whole bunch of different types of producers that are in there. And I'll caveat that, not with us by any means, we're clean freaks, but from what I've heard from other people that have come over from other kitchens to ours, pricing can also be higher than maybe what you could work out with a church basement or a catering kitchen or even a school. But those are kind of the different options that are out there. Other things that I would look at as you look at the scaling aspect of the business is, one is, are they clean? I've dealt with a number of inspectors from the MDA, and they all say the same thing. The very first thing to go is the cleanliness and the rodents when folks are on hard times. So I would ask questions like, from the little stuff, do you use a service to change your mop heads and clean the restrooms, keep the rugs clean? What kind of operation do you have? Because you're going to have a lot of people coming and going out of the kitchen. Another thing I would ask for is, what kind of folks are you renting to? What does that mix look like? And where that's, imperative is, do you want to smell like a barbecue? Nothing wrong with barbecue. I love barbecue, but do you want to make your cupcakes and then smell like a barbecue restaurant every day after you leave there? Because those smells can permeate. What we do that's a little differently with our business is we don't allow meat in either of our kitchens in Minneapolis, in Plymouth or St. Paul. We don't want those smells to permeate. And so this third kitchen that we're looking at is going to be open to more meat. That's what we're doing, but we're trying to keep those separate so those smells and stuff don't mix. The other thing is are you leveraging, and there's nothing wrong with food trucks. We've got one, but are you, running a whole bunch of folks that are coming in with a bunch, I'm frying French fries, I'm doing this, I'm cutting up this, I'm all over the kitchen. That can cause some chaos in the kitchen. Our specialty is focusing on makers, folks that make products, and that way they can be zoned easier into an area and they're not running into each other constantly like you'd have to if you're running a restaurant. I would also look at, are the people courteous? Do they get back with you? How used is the equipment? Is it broken? And why is that important? Well, the last thing you want to have happen is you get a big order. You have to be in the kitchen and you find out, hey, sorry, the mixer's broken, and who knows when we'll get to it. That kind of puts you in a jam pretty easily. Do they have easy booking systems? Is it easy to access? Is it 24/7 so you can come and go as you please? And then, the common stuff like, is the area safe? Is there camera systems? And, what is your reputation? And the nice thing about our food community in Minnesota is it doesn't take long to make a couple phone calls to find out what people's reputations are. But I would really dig into that too, because the last thing you want to do is, be stuck in a jam and not be able to meet your commitments that you've made to your customer. I hope this helped. I hope it was beneficial. I hope that you at least got one thing or idea that can drive more revenue to your
I do
business.
not know how you can't use you.
And you know, those if there's anything I can ever help you with down the road, please let me know. And I'll open it up for any questions that anyone might have.
Thank you, John. That was great. There are a few questions in the chat. Can you see them or do you want me to read them to you?
Yep, let me try to grab it real quick. I'm sorry. Here we go. Sorry, guys, that I wasn't paying attention. My wife tells me that often. So let's see here. Perfect. Great book. John, is the sign on the table a runner? Yeah, it's something that we got. It's a runner from Vistaprint. And that sign is like we rolled up. It's like a plastic runner that easily folds up. And so yes, that is a runner. No sound. Okay, let's see here. And let's see. If I missed anyone's question, please let me know. Or if any other one has any other questions, happy to answer anything.
John, where are your kitchens located in?
Yep, great question. Thank you, Christine. We've got a kitchen off of Highway 169 and 36 is where it is. One thing that we do that's unique is we operate our storefronts as well. And then if you utilize our kitchens, we'll sell your products at our storefronts as well. So we have a storefront there. It's branded Nicolet's Macarons, but in the back of the house is the shared kitchen. And then we have another one in St. Paul, which is on Dale Street. So it's Dale Front and Como, basically that intersection. 919 Dale Street North is our other kitchen. And then we have the same model there. We sell products of our makers at that location as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see what else we got here. Tiffany says, John, please come south of the river, Savage or Burnsville. Okay, does anybody have any more questions for John? Anything about
John, could you remind us what the best way is of contacting you?
Yeah, so you can go right to our website, MSP Kitchenery, or I'll give you my cell phone number too. It's 612. I'll let everyone grab a pen, but feel free to call me at any time. 612-961-3562 is my cell phone. And you also could, go through Nicolet's Macarons as well, but just give me a call and I'm here to help any way that I can.
Cool. Thank you. This has been a really great presentation.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it.
Really great.
John, you just might want to mention, I've been on your website, that you lay out really well all the things you require before even exploring going into one of your spaces. So it's worth anybody who's interested to explore your website and look at what you require for a partnership with you.
Well, thank you, Tiffany. I greatly appreciate that. And to expound on that, we have a set process, and we have a lot of people that leverage it. Not only if they want to go with our kitchen, but any kitchen. And I wanted that as a resource. It lays out exactly a step-by-step process on what you would need to do, not just for any of our kitchens, but for any kitchen that's out there. And it can be difficult sometimes trying to navigate what you need to do to be able to go to that step. But we have that right there for you.
Yeah. it
Yeah,
was
I want to
great.
second what Tiffany said, because while you were talking, went to your site and went to this kitchen rental process page, and I'm learning a lot just looking at it, and you got great links in there. I encourage everybody else to take a look at his site, and specifically the kitchen rental process page, just because it's got some really good laid out stuff.
Melissa would like to know, what is the cost to rent a spot in one of your kitchens?
Okay, yeah, so the cost is, it's like a gym membership. And so what it is it's $100 a month to be part of the gym, if you will. And then it depends on what time that you're coming in. So from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m., it's $18 an hour. And then from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., it's $14 an hour. Now, where we're different from other kitchens is, and this might change, so I don't want to, we might be morphing this on the next kitchen we acquire. We're going to try something different, but for our current kitchens that we have now, we don't charge anything for the equipment. And what I mean by that is, if you want a 60 quart, a 40 quart, a 20 quart Hobart mixer, if you want 8 double stack Blodgett ovens, you can leverage anything that you want in the kitchen for that time. We might be changing that. And the reason why on this new kitchen is just so people don't abuse an area where they just kind of hog a stove or an oven. And so we might be changing that on the next kitchen. But for our kitchens right now, that's our process. There's no additional fees associated with any of the cleaning. We have Cintas come in. We have another group, a local group of folks, a little business that do cleaning. If you make a mess, you clean it yourself, is how we operate. And then the only other thing that would be there is there's depending on if you need dry storage, frozen storage, or refrigerated storage, there's additional costs for that. And we would go into the details on that by linear square foot that you need. We really believe in technology. So at our kitchens, we have them all completely redone. And you can let yourself in 24/7 through an app on your phone. If you have an Android or an Apple phone, you let yourself in anytime that you want. We have camera systems, and then it's all booked online. And then the other thing that we find is we try to make it fun. We want to make, life's too short not to have fun. And so we have the community, we all are very supportive of each other and help each other out, tell each other about markets, and especially during the holiday times, bundle stuff together with each other. So there's a community there as well.
So Caitlin would like to know, what advice do you have for someone who wants to start a commercial kitchen?
Oh, I could, you could have me come back and speak for hours on that one. But it's a good question.
I think we should do an evening webinar with you.
I would do that, no problem. Yeah, I'd love to do that, because there's so much that I'd put together a presentation similar to what I did here today for you folks that would walk you through that as well. I guess the biggest one, though, if I were to say, hey, John, what's the biggest thing that you'd recommend, is I would never lease a space. If I was to do it, I would want that real estate. And that's where I've seen a lot of the kitchens, their landlord ends up bumping the rent and it takes them out pretty quick. And so I've seen that happen, unfortunately, way too many times, where if you have that building yourself, you control your own destiny. That'd probably be the biggest thing. And these kitchens, these build outs are quite expensive. And so the last thing you want to do is sink a bunch of capital into somewhere where, 5 years from now, they're saying, sorry, you got to raise the lease rate on you.
Does the commercial kitchen have to be certified as gluten-free in order to make and sell gluten-free items?
Okay, that's a great question as well. So what we do is we let everyone know that we leverage gluten-free ingredients, but it is baked in a shared commercial kitchen. So if you wanted to be in a, we're still gluten-free, Amy, we're 100% gluten-free. It's just in a shared space.
Do you sell only macaroons in your food truck?
Today, that's all we sell. Yep. So it's just macarons, and it's very interesting. And I don't want to talk your ear off, but it was fascinating for me on what that food truck did and the impulse buying of people. I thought it was just, being that we're talking about driving revenue to your business. I've never gone to an event saying, yeah, I'm at this festival. I really want to go find me some macarons. I mean, that's never, maybe mini donuts, maybe some corn on the cob, maybe something like that. Yes, but maybe a corn dog, but never macarons. But I was pleasantly shocked, to be candid, at how many people love different unique options. And how that's resonated in our community. We've been very blessed with that. And I never would have saw it coming, to be honest with you. We tried it. We thought, wow, what's the worst thing that could happen? We just sell the truck to somebody else.
Do you think craft fairs are worth the cost effort for cottage food producers?
I think certain ones 100% are. And no doubt about it. There's certain ones that are out there that are fantastic. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. There's a lot, though, that aren't. And what I found was, especially this year, I did a whole bunch of events, and we had some that were awesome, and we had some that were just terrible. And there's nothing like, and I know everyone on this call has been there before, where you're sitting there out in front of your table and you're waiting for people to come, and there's no one there. Or, they walk by and it's like a museum where they can look at it and say, grandma used to make these, and, walk on by kind of thing. And so, there's certain ones that are fantastic. The ones that I found to be the best are ones that have been around for a while. There's certain operators, like in every business, that are phenomenal operators that know how to drive business and have done it for a while. The ones we did the worst at this year were ones that were new. They just started it this year or last year. And I'm not saying don't give them a chance, but there was folks that had never had, and shame on me for taking my time to do them. But folks that had never done it before, and they didn't have the social media prowess. They didn't have the ability to draw the revenue. Where I think Tom can attest, when we were at the Union Depot together, that's a phenomenal, amazing market. Now that's a food-based market, but it was awesome. We did a craft market in Canterbury Downs, Canterbury Park, which was unbelievably fantastic. I'm going to be doing in Minneapolis a home and garden show. Well, you'd be like, well, why? Who wants macarons at a home and garden show? Well, we'll see. Hopefully it works out. But people are looking to support local. They want to hear your story. It resonates with folks, and they want something unique and different that they can share with others. And it doesn't matter how our economy plays out. I think everyone here on this call has a price point on their product that's affordable, and people want affordable luxuries, and they're going to want it if the economy goes down, up, or right.
Muriel says, I think craft fairs are worth it if they're your target. And Joy is asking any further recommendations on creating websites and also e-commerce if you have utilized.
So that's another one. I just being candid with you, I could spend a good hour with on on creating websites. We leveraged, there's two big platforms that I see in the marketplace the most. One is Shopify and the other one is BigCommerce. Those are the two. Shopify is probably more prevalent. And that would be the basis of how I would go about the business. Now, we use BigCommerce. If I could do it all over again, I think I probably would have investigated Shopify more. I'll put it that way. I haven't had a terrible experience with BigCommerce, but where the problem occurs is the plugins that you need. They're called plugins that you can just take and put onto your site. I think Shopify might be more advanced in those than what BigCommerce is. So I would first start with going to Shopify. I'd look at BigCommerce, and then I would look at, and they all have templates. So my wife is the one that designed our website. We didn't pay anyone to do it at all. She just used templates that are there to drive it. Also, GoDaddy is a great one as well. Great point, Tina. GoDaddy is also one that you can leverage. But on the real, it goes back to the beginning of our conversation today, is what's the goal for the business? And, some folks, are perfectly fine at a certain saying, hey, you know what, this is where I want it. It's a great lifestyle business. Other folks want, to sell it to ConAgra. When you determine where you want your business to go would really determine what I would do. And what platform I would build it on, because, if you want to build that so you can scale and not have the whole thing fall apart on you as you're growing. And so that would also determine which one of the templates and approaches I would use as well. I don't know if that answered that question at all.
Do you use email newsletters or other emailing?
So when we went to the IBIE this fall, we discovered that Square has a marketing tool that everyone that that's paid, you can get lists and you can blast lists to them and do newsletters and other types of emailing. We have yet to do that. We're behind the 8 ball, I believe, in our business when it comes to really leveraging e-commerce tools and direct marketing approaches. So we haven't done that. That's an area of drastic improvement that we need to do. And when we went to the International Baking Exposition, we found that other people are doing it and they're getting great success rates on it. We went to multiple different classes where we spoke and listened to people on what was working for them. And it's definitely something we need to do that we're not doing. The other thing that I thought was interesting is I've gone to that International Baking Industry Exposition. This was my 3rd time going, and it's every 3 years. But I was really pleased to see in the classes this year, I would never seen as many cottage food folks in the classes. And I would say it was represented over half of the folks that went to these classes were folks that came with the cottage food licensing. So, I'm not, I'm in the baking business. That's what we do with Nicolette's Macarons, but there's other conferences out there for you. If you can find them, I would definitely lean into them. And this right here is, I commend you again for being here and being involved, because this is how you build a community. And this is how we all win. We win together.
Thank you, John. What time is it? We have time for a couple more questions. Caitlin would like to know, what's the name of the conference that you're talking about?
Yep, it's IBIE. It's the International Baking Industry Exposition. So when I'm sorry.
Tiffany was asking, she says, I hear your ads on My Talk all the time. Are those types of ads expensive, or would we be surprised at the value?
They're very expensive. Yeah, we did it over COVID on a deal, but it is very costly for radio advertising. We're not going to be doing it this year. We're backing off of it, but we got a deal we couldn't refuse when COVID happened. Advertising was getting slaughtered pretty massively, and that's why you've heard our advertising for a couple years, but it is very, very costly.
I just want to circle back real quickly on the IBIE thing. So I first learned about that through two different online communities that I joined earlier this year or last year. One is bakingbusiness.com and then Baking News, which is bakemag.com. And I'll put those links in the chat, but both of those are free industry newsletters that you can get. Well, actually, I get them physical. It's funny that I don't actually have any laying around right now, but they are amazing to read through. And that's also where I learned about the conference and other conferences out there. So these are both free to join. Their websites are really rich. Matter of fact, they're on my news tab or news folder on my browser. So like in the morning when I go through my Google News and the Washington Post, I also go through Baking Business and Bake Mag because there's that relevant of information out there for the business. So check those out.
No, it's amazing. And what's fun is, for folks that might be down Red Wing Hainish Bakery, he brings his whole team there. And then this year we actually were walking around the conference and we ran into Tina of T-Rex Cookies. And so it's fun to see local groups of Minnesotans there as well. It's a great community. I think there was one more question. Let me grab it here real quick. Do you advertise in types of mailers that come with all kinds of local businesses? Mary Jo, so I've looked at it on doing direct mailing. We were kind of going to go there at one period of time, but we haven't done it. So I don't have experience on that, but I have toyed around with that direct mailing. Folks, I really want to thank all of you. I'm very cognizant on everyone's time here. And I want to thank everybody for the questions. And if there, again, feel free to reach out. My cell phone number again is 612-961-3562. And thank you for participating and being active and growing your businesses. I want to thank Shelley, Jennifer, Tom, the team for doing this. I mean, this is a lot of work, and it's easy to hop on and enjoy, but this takes a lot of time and effort. And I want to thank you for dedicating that for the state of Minnesota. We all win together. And as far as the MSP Kitchenery perspective, is we want to continue to sponsor this organization because it matters. And it's something that we should be proud of to have in the state.
Thank you very much, John. I appreciate that.
Yes, that's very kind. We look forward to our relationship moving forward too.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Are you going to hang
Thanks,
around?
John.
Yeah, I'm going to stick around.
Okay.